Getting right into today's video, we're actually going to be starting off by prepping my practice hand. Do note that these are the Veeda Bella practice hands. So if you guys are interested in purchasing these along with any of the other products in the video or curious as to what their names are, they will be linked in the description box, along with discount codes that you may use to save a little bit of money. We're starting off by using our easy tape. This is for our easy prep system that we created to go with our practice hand for easy use and easy removal. Now the next step after you have added your piece of tape, I'm going to be taking the tip that corresponds to the finger, and then you're simply going to take off that white little backing piece, slide in the tip with the square side into the nail pocket all the way until you have the perfect free edge, and then you're just going to firmly press down so that they adhere properly. Now that we have our practice hand ready to go, we're actually going to be taking our tips of choice. These are from Amazon. I've been using these for the longest time. And of course, your nail glue of choice. I'm taking the Young Nails brush on glue as that one's just my favorite. And then you're going to go ahead and apply those as straight as you possibly can. I'm going to go ahead and let those dry up a little bit. Once they are nicely adhered, I'm going to go in with my nail tip cutters and we're just going to cut the tip to the size and length of our liking. Now that I have everything nicely adhered, I'm actually going to be taking my hand file and just making sure that those sides are nice and tight on the side walls of the nail. I sometimes have to go up a size depending on the nail, so I just want to make sure that everything is nice and flush so that when I go in with my acrylic application, the nail doesn't get super wide in that area. I'm going to kind of dust off the excess dust and we're going to start our acrylic application. Now for this set, I am using the color Nude Me from Not Polish. I'm also using their acrylic brush, and for my monomer of choice for today's video, I'm using the Kiara Sky monomer. Now for this set, we are going to be doing a basic acrylic application, which entails one simple color, one simple application process. I'm going to be going in with a medium-sized bead of acrylic, and then we're going to be gently just tucking in those sides and then bringing the product downwards. Notice how I am not dragging anything. I'm just simply tapping it into place while kind of moving my brush in the direction that I want the acrylic to go to. Since I do have a good liquid to powder ratio, the product isn't over runny and it's not super dry, so I'm still able to work it and clean up those sides nicely. You always want to make sure that you focus on your acrylic application, especially when it comes to the shaping, so that you don't have to do an extensive amount of filing. Now, if you are a beginner nail tech, do note that sometimes it will take you more than your typical 3 beads of acrylic, and that is completely fine. I always try to tell y'all that no matter how many beads you do, at the beginning, it's always going to be a little bit of a learning curve, so make sure you don't get discouraged. I know sometimes working with bigger beads can be a little bit trickier, especially if you're not comfortable with it. So do note that sometimes you'll have to use more beads, and that is completely fine. I'm going in with that second bead and I place it right over top of the first bead that we laid. And for this one, I'm actually going to be focusing on those sides, but also blending it into the existing acrylic. Again, if you have your liquid to powder ratio good, it should not run everywhere and you shouldn't have to overwork the product. I'm going in with another bead right up in the cuticle area. We are treating the silicone hand as if it was a client, so you always want to try to avoid the cuticle area as much as possible to decrease the risk of overexposure when it comes to chemicals on our client's skin. We're going to be doing exactly that on our silicone practice hand to give us the practice. You want to treat it exactly like you would, so make sure you're not bending the fingers in a weird way or in a way that you wouldn't on an actual person. And then again, we're gonna try to minimize the amount of times we touch the skin with our brush with that monomer on there. We wanna make sure that we get those sides nice and perfectly round. And then again, we're just gonna be blending that down into the existing acrylic. And then as always, we're gonna go ahead and repeat that on the rest of the nails. About a medium-sized bead of acrylic going into the larger size of a medium-sized bead. And we are focusing on that middle section and bringing it all the way down to the tip. So when I go in and dip my brush into a little bit more monomer, that is allowing me to extend the amount of dry time it's going to take for my bead to dry. So if I feel like I need to work it a little bit more and it's already starting to dry, go ahead and just saturate your brush slightly, pat it on your paper towel and go back in, and that'll give you a little bit more time to work with that product. Of course, once it's a little bit more advanced in the drying time, you won't be able to do that, but it's always a nice little thing to do if you are in a pinch. I'm gonna go ahead and wipe those sides continuously so that my shape does not get messed up. Per usual, you wanna make sure you are keeping your shape nice and crisp. Now again, we're going in with our second bead of acrylic. Notice how I am just gently tucking in those sides. I'm pushing it towards the center of the nail before I go in and blend it. This is always key. Of course, if you are a beginner nail tech, it won't be this simple. And now I'm saturating my brush just a little bit more and then we blend it out. I always suggest, if you are a beginner nail tech and wanting to learn how to do acrylic, always refer back to my liquid to powder ratio video. That one is going to show you exactly how to pick up the perfect bead so that you don't struggle when it comes to your application. So that is the first step that you want to practice before you actually get into applying acrylic nails. And then lastly, the third bead goes up in the cuticle area, holding it there for a second, and then I immediately start pushing the product upwards while holding the finger slightly down. And then I'm going to be focusing on those sides, of course. And once I have that nice and round to the form of the cuticle area, I'm going to start working the product down. Now I do believe, if I remember properly, my room was a little bit on the hotter side. So this also plays a huge role when it comes to acrylic application. If your room temperature is warmer than it should be, your acrylic is going to dry a lot faster. If your room is very cold or you're doing it in a very well AC'd area, it's going to dry a lot slower. So always take that into consideration as well. I've seen some people practice outside, and depending on the area you're in, that's not going to be ideal. So do note that if you feel like you're doing everything right and it's still not working for you, take into consideration the temperature of your room or the products that you're using. Now, quick little extra information. We have officially started posting on TikTok. So if y'all are interested in following our TikTok page, it is ran by both my husband and I, so you'll be seeing both of us in there quite often. I'm going to be posting a lot of my nail content on there as well in short form. And the best part of it and the most fun thing that we have done so far is starting to do lives on TikTok. So if you have seen our TikTok interaction when it comes to lives, it is so fun. Not only do you get to ask questions, but I am showing you live how to do a design or how to apply acrylic, but also set up your practice hand to use easily. And the funniest part of it all is I have actually started my journey of teaching my husband how to do nails. So if y'all remember from the last time he did my nails, which was the first time ever, he officially started learning exactly how to apply. So he has zero knowledge other than editing my videos, which makes it a little bit more interesting because he does know a lot of the nail terms, but also he should kind of know exactly how to do the things since I've pretty much taught him in every single one of my videos. However, it goes to show that practice versus watching is completely different. So if you guys want to see live exactly how he's doing, definitely check those out. I will leave our TikTok page linked down below in the description box, so if you guys are interested. But it's been so fun. We've laughed a lot. It's been such a funny kind of teaching little nail class that we've been doing, and everyone has been enjoying it that has tuned in so far. So we are getting ready to do some more, so definitely stay tuned for that. I'm gonna go ahead and continue to apply my acrylic as I have done, and I'll let you guys kind of just watch this to see exactly how I do it. Now that we are done with our acrylic application, I'm going to be going in with my 5-in-1 bit, and we're just going to be filing these nails. I am going to be focusing on hand filing, which I have been doing quite often. And I'm just going to do the cuticle area part with this because you want to make sure that the acrylic is nice and flush. And again, since this is a silicone practice hand, you want to treat it as if it was an actual client. So what I'm doing while I am doing this process is pulling back that skin. Exactly how you would do it on a client, you want to make sure that you are putting your fingers in harm's way. So if you feel like you can cut the client, put your finger in the position to either pull away that skin or use it as a shield just in case your hand slips or you can nick the skin. I used to have like this scar, I'm not sure if I still have it, but I used to use my pinky as a little shield, and I ended up developing a little scar in the area where I would either nick myself or just the rubbing effect from the bit on my skin kind of burned it a little bit. So that's a fun fact. Always make sure that you are protecting your client from any type of damage. I'm going to go in now and we're going to be shaping these nails. I am taking my Tammy Taylor peel and stick file. We're going to be filing those sides to make sure that the shape is nice and crisp. And then directly after, I'm going to be taking that same file and we're just going to file the surface of the nail until everything is nice and smooth. Now do note that a good way to see if your nail is nice and even when you are filing using a hand file is going to be to look for the darker areas in the nail. So when you are filing the nail, a lot of the time it turns into like a cast of white color. So any of the areas that are untouched are going to show as the actual color of the acrylic or a little bit darker than that white cast. And that is a good indicator that it is not even and the nail file is not touching those areas. So it's pretty much like the areas that are untouched are not even, and you want to make sure that you file until they are nice and even. If you're noticing that you're having to overly file, I would go ahead and take a little bit more acrylic and apply it in that area, infill it, wait for it to dry, and then go in and file, because a lot of the time it will be an indicator that you did not fill in the nail gaps or you didn't apply it evenly. So always make sure that you are paying attention to that. Now I'm going to be going in and cleaning my practice hand very quickly before we get into our nail art portion. So I'm going to take off her rings, and I'm going to be taking a lint-free wipe and a little bit of alcohol. I am going to be just giving it a nice scrub, and I'm actually cleaning it away from the nails first just to focus on the actual hand cleaning. And then I'm going to be going in and cleaning the nails separately. You want to make sure that you are getting all that dust out of the cuticle pockets as well, just to make a nice clean application. And again, just nice little wipe. And then we're going to get right into our nail art. So I am taking my Artista palette, also available on our website. And then I'm going to be using my liners for this entire process. I'm using a mixture of white gel polish and white gel paint. And I'm actually going to be going in with glossy top coat. This kind of gets rid of the need to buff the nail, but if you feel like you need to buff the nail, go ahead and do that. I'm going to be applying that shiny top coat, and then we're going to be curing it in the light for a full 60 seconds. And then we're going to get right into our nail art. So for the base of our design, we're going to be doing a simple French nail. You can make it as deep as you want, as almond shaped as you want. Here I'm showing you exactly how to easily create a super crisp French. And the easiest hack for a beginner nail tech, if you are struggling to do it, is to do that backwards A design. So you want to apply your horizontal line at the length that you want your smile line to be, and then you're just going to curve those lines out and you get the perfect smile line every single time. Now, of course, I'm taking my gel polish bristled brush and we're going to go in and infill the rest of that to make our life a little bit easier so that I'm not using my liner to infill it. And then again, we're going to go ahead and repeat that. I am going in with the long liner for this step. And as always, I'm going to go ahead and repeat that on the rest of the nails, backwards A, and then we're just going to curve those lines out.
Mami, ¿qué más? Hay algo en ti que me tiene mal, una belleza que me quema. Cuando vaya, la nota me estalla. Mami, ¿qué más? Hay algo en ti que me tiene mal, sé que anda puesta para el problema. Dale, guaya, que yo te doy falla, falla. Deja que los cuerpos hablen, no hace falta más. Sí, ya muy bien tú sabes lo que iba a pasar. Tú me pones la mente a volar. Quiero sobrepasar los límites de tu figura, bajar por tu cuerpo y llevarte a las alturas. Tenerte sería una experiencia religiosa, este maón es otra cosa. Sigue peleándome así como si el mundo llegara a su fin. Más de ti yo quiero un chin, quiero quitarte ese panticito supreme, bebé. Te tengo una propuesta.
Now for this nail, we're going to be doing checkered print, and I am going to be super extra careful when doing this, so we want to hold our breath. I'm just joking. Make sure you are stabilizing your hand with your pinky. I failed on this next line, so I am going to wipe it off. Do not be scared to wipe off and start over. If you're not happy with something, wipe it off. That is always the best thing to do, because if you just keep going, a lot of the time it's not going to turn out, and it's going to be harder to backtrack. So definitely go ahead and wipe it off. I'm going in with one skinny line down the center, and that's going to be my starting point. And then I'm going to be splitting the rest of the nail on the sides in half. So I'm going to be doing one more line down on the right side and then another one on the left. So that's going to be our vertical lines. And then we're going to be doing the same thing horizontally.
Que los cuerpos hablen, no hace falta más. Sí, ya conmigo te dejas llevar. Nah.
Now do note that when I'm doing the horizontal lines, I'm actually going to be rotating the finger to assist me. So as I'm moving my brush, I am moving the finger in the direction that I want the brush to go. So that's going to allow me to get a super straight line without having to either move my body and risk my hand twitching and really just wiggling it on accident because you're not super stable. So I'm holding the finger really, really firm. I'm stabilizing my right hand with my pinky, and we are rotating that finger in to assist us.
Corazón destruido no deja de palpitar, de palpitar. Mi amor es franco y fiel, no tiene fronteras y no maldad. Mi amor es franco y fiel, no tiene fronteras y no maldad. El río fluye, nunca solo está, no solo está. El río fluye, nunca solo está, no solo está.
Next, I'm going to be taking the micro detail brush, and we're going to be using that to infill the little squares for our checkered print. I absolutely love these little brushes, one because it gets into those tiny little crevices, but it also holds a good amount of paint on there. So I'm going to be using just that. And again, they are dual-sided, so you get the option of using a longer one or a shorter one, and they're both different thicknesses. So I'm going to go in and infill whatever square I feel like infilling, and then we're going to skip across depending on which one you colored first. So I'm starting off with this one. So the one to the right is going to be left blank, and then the one on the left is also going to be left blank, and then the one all the way over to the left is going to be infilled, and you're going to be doing that same pattern on the vertical lines as well. So I'm infilling that one, and here I was just showing exactly the ones that I'm going to be infilling. And this is a nice little trick. If you get distracted and just start coloring in the squares, you can always pre-paint them. That way you remember exactly which ones you have to infill. And again, this was all done on live on TikTok, so I was able to kind of walk everyone through the design exactly how I was doing it right then and there, and all my thoughts during the process. And as usual, always make sure you cure in the light whenever you feel it is necessary. If you did the outline of your checker print and wanted to go ahead and cure it, definitely do that. It is better to secure your work, especially if you're content with it, before you mess it up. So cure it, go in and infill, and then cure again. I went ahead and just did the whole thing from scratch, but I'm a little bit more comfortable and I trust myself a little bit better. Now for the pinky and the index finger, I'm gonna be doing like this swivel texture design. Absolutely love it. So we're gonna be doing the 3D gel, kind of swirl in whatever you feel you should be doing. My mistake, it was the middle finger. I am going in with that 3D gel, applying that in whatever direction I want it to go. And then you're gonna cure that in the light. I'm actually using my little flashlight from Not Polish. It comes in handy with these type of designs. You can kind of instantly cure it in place so that it doesn't move. And then you want a full cure in the light for 60 seconds. For the index finger, we're gonna be doing some little starbursts just to tighten the design together. I started off with a dot, and then we're going to be doing the vertical line down the center and then horizontal one, and then we're going to curve those lines out as well. Now to finalize the design portion of this set, I'm going to be taking some 3D carving gel, and I'm actually going to be making little cherries. So we're going to be adding that on the checkered print now. And I'm kind of just making them. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be the same size. I think I made one a little bit bigger and one a little bit smaller. You're going to place that where you want it to stick, and then you want to cure that in the light for 60 seconds as well. Now I did not have a red that was to my liking in the carving gel, so I actually just took red gel paint and black, mixed it together to get like a deeper maroon burgundy color, and then I'm just painting over the surface of it, and then again we're going to cure in the light for a full 60 seconds. And of course, we're gonna be adding in our little stems and a leaf. I just used green gel liner, I believe from Not Polish, and I'm just connecting those two, and then we're gonna be adding a little leaf on the end. And I'm still using my long liner for this process. Next, you want to take your top coat of choice. We're going in with a glossy top coat. And for this one, I ended up using the Chiara Sky acrylic top coat. No specific reason, it was just right there ready to go. I'm going to add that on the entire surface of the nail, making sure that I'm covering everything around the little cherries as well and over the top as well. And then again, curing it in the light for a full 60 seconds. here's the final result. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you learned a ton, and as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.